There are some people very excited about these Trump convictions regarding the Georgia trial. And I gotta tell you, man, the fact that Sidney Powell has pled guilty, and is it two others, or at least one other? We have at least two people that pled guilty. I think Ellis is also pleading guilty as well. So there's some people look at this as like, oh, the walls are closing in terms of there's a lot of people that have been rejecting the notion that Trump did anything wrong. And when you have the very people, closest to Trump, his allies, his attorneys, you know, sitting out there and saying, hey, guilty, I did it. There's some people who think that this is kind of a vindication and this is kind of like, see, I told you so. I'm surprised in 2023 that there's still people who think like this. We have learned a lot about psychology throughout this pandemic in terms of how people think, how people hear what they want to hear, see what they want to see, believe what they want to believe. I can raise both of my hands, right? But if someone only wants to see one hand, they will only see the one hand. This hand is invisible to them. You're like, what are you talking about? It's right there. Don't you see it? No, they don't. Right? They just see this. This is what they see. This is reality, but this is what they see. Right? Then you have another group who, this is reality, but this is what they see. Right? And that's the thing about propaganda. In propaganda, what people do is you have reality, but you choose which part of reality is the most profitable to talk about, right? So one side of the media, this truth is profitable. So they talk about this, not about this, or if they talk about this at all, just a little bit. Mainly focus on this. This is where the money's at. Or you have the reverse, right? This part of reality is profitable to talk about. So either talk just a little bit about this or not at all. So the people who consume this media, this is what they see, this is what they know about. And the reverse, this is what they see, this is what they know about, right? Everyone's missing a big part of the story. So in the context of these, guilty pleas. So in your mind, I mean, they're admitting it, right? So obviously it really happened. Now, if someone wants to believe in a narrative that Trump is innocent and they're just trying to shut him down because the liberals, this or something, socialism, blah, 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 2024, Joe Biden, whatever mumbo jumbo. Somebody wants to believe that narrative. They will not, almost under any circumstance, accept an alternative reality, right? They have their preferred reality and they're going to hold onto that with their dying breath, right? So any attempt to sort of present to them something that contrasts with what they want to believe is true, their brain is going to find an alternative path away and around whatever it is you're trying to show, right? That's that filter, that psychological filter, right? Confirmation bias, right? When I look at information, I'm only looking at it from a perspective that is convenient to me. So I'm interpreting everything that aligns with what I want to believe, and everything that doesn't align with what I want to believe, I just kind of don't see it or ignore it, or I try to interpret it in a different way. So how could you do that here? Someone tells you, hey, Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell pled guilty. You say, hey, of course they did. The courts are so corrupt. They're Democrat run, blah, blah, blah. They are basically going after the political opponents, and they're just trying to stop Trump from running. That's what this is all about. And they're deeply, deeply corrupt. You have the deep state, right? So these people are basically throwing up the white flag. They realize that they cannot win because they're going up against illegal, made-up charges, right? So it's kind of like, you got a police officer that planted drugs on you, and that's dirty cop, right? Dirty cops are clearly not following the rules. The judge is in on it, right? They're gonna bury you, and they're saying to you, hey man, we'll let you go as long as you rat out your buddies, right? So what the person does is they sell out, right? They are not willing to go to prison, for decades potentially, to save someone else, right? So they realize that people are making stuff up. There's no way they're going to win this case. So they'll agree to whatever. So did you see your friend do X, Y, and Z? Even if you didn't see him do it, you'll be like, yeah, I saw him. Like, what do you want me to say? Tell me what you want me to say. I'll say it. You just write it down. Write down, okay, I saw him wearing a blue shirt, blah, blah, blah. Right? So that is what their brains will come up with. Something similar to that, where Sidney Powell didn't do anything wrong. Trump didn't do anything wrong. Sidney Powell is just overwhelmed with corruption in terms of from the politicized DOJ, and she's basically choosing to save herself, right? So rather than be buried by fake charges, she's not going to lie against Trump to save her butt, right? That's what their minds will come up with. stuff like that. So every single guilty plea is not a guilty plea. It's someone who has turned on Trump, who has betrayed Trump. Um, it's kind of, what's the expression out, the rats, everyone for themselves type of thing. Um, so yeah, the DOJ, this is the narrative they'll come up with, I'm sure. Something like this. The DOJ is, setting these people up and threatening them, and as a result, they are willing to lie against Trump because that'll get them out of being, going to prison for fake charges. They get off, right, at the expense of, basically lying and potentially putting Donald Trump in prison for something he didn't do, right? So that's phase one. Then if Trump actually ends up losing, that'll be the explanation. Courts are corrupt, and even Trump's allies are corrupt as well. They've been corrupted by the corrupt court, threatened and intimidated into lying. So the whole thing is just manufactured. Nothing's real. Sometimes the truth is hard to accept, but I'm gonna tell you like it is, man. So if you guys are, out there thinking that these convictions mean anything, they don't. Not in the minds of those who want to believe that Trump is the good guy trying to save them. Someone who believes that, they will easily dismiss everything. It doesn't matter the level of evidence. Sidney Powell could testify and say detailed stuff about what Trump did, but again, they will say she's lying because she's trying to save herself. Trump could do the same thing, and they could say they probably worked out some deal behind the scenes, and Trump is trying to save himself so he can be free to fight for, his voters. He loves them so much that he is going to take that sacrifice and admit to lesser charges for a lesser sentence that keeps him out of prison, all so that he could fight for the American people. Right? 2023, man, you're still waiting for that time to come when something happens and people are like, oh wow, I guess Trump really is at least some of what people say about him negatively. It's not gonna happen. Anyone who's still on the Trump train, they're gonna be on the Trump train. And many who are on the Trump train and been on the Trump train, it's at a point now where they won't necessarily admit it, but trust me, they're still on the Trump train. No doubt about it. All aboard. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. You watched the entire video. Comment below.